Bernadett C. Caparic, Teacher 1 of Francisco B. Rosales Senior National High School, Division of Northern Samar. Today we're going to report our concept paper with the title Addressing Student Absenteeism Through Evidence-Based Intervention, the Role of Nutrition, Access, and Family Support among Grade 12 Garnet students of Francisco B. Rosales Senior National High School. Together, I will be presenting this with my group, Ma'am Risy L. Pondario and Sir Melchor O. Oserraos. Our table of contents has a introduction and rationale, statement of the problem, research objectives, research hypothesis, significance of the study, scope and delimitation of the study, operational definition of terms, conceptual framework, review of related literature, review of related literature matrix, research methodology, work plan or Gantt chart, proposed budget, monitoring and evaluation plan, dissemination plan, sustainability plan, appendices, and references. We also included the AIU's declaration at the last part.
Good day, everyone. I am Risy L. Teacher 1 from Francisco B. Rosales Senior National High School. School attendance and absenteeism in the Philippines. School attendance is a fundamental prerequisite for meaningful learning academic success. Regular attendance enables learners to participate actively in classroom instruction, develop social and emotional competencies, and achieve learning standards prescribed by the Department of Education or the DepEd. Chronic absenteeism has been consistently associated with lower academic achievement, reduced classroom engagement, increased risk of school dropout, and diminished opportunities for lifelong success. In the Philippines, absenteeism continues to challenge the delivery of quality education, particularly among learners in geographically isolated and disadvantaged communities. Despite sustained government efforts, including the K-12 basic education program and school-based feeding program, many students face barriers rooted in the socio-economic condition, geographical limitation, nutritional deficiencies, and inadequate family support. Absenteeism, a multidimensional issue requiring evidence-based solution. The causes of absenteeism. We have multidimensional factors and nutritional and income barriers. In multidimensional factors, absenteeism is rarely caused by dysenteries alone. Personal, familiar, environmental, and economic factors interact to drive chronic absence. In nutritional and income barriers, students from low-income households struggle to secure nutritional meals and reliable transportation, leading to fatigue, poor concentration, and reduced motivation. The cascading impact, of course, physical fatigue and diminished motivation eventually result to frequent absences and declining academic outcomes. The DepEd Action Research Response. The Department of Education encouraged teachers to systematically investigate the school problem using empirical evidence rather than assumption or anecdotal observation. First, we need to identify the root causes. The action reaches enable educators to pinpoint underlying causes of educational challenges and implement context-specific evidence-based intervention. The continuous improvement by evaluating intervention effectiveness through systematic inquiry (SBAR), it strengthens evidence-based decision-making and promotes sustained school improvement.
Morning, my name is Melchor Oserraos, one of the researcher of this concept paper. I'm going to continue the local and context of the study. 6 years of classroom experience reveal persistent absenteeism rooted in travel hardships and poverty. The study originated from the researchers' 6 years experience as a class advisor of grade 12, where absenteeism emerged as the most persistent barrier to student success. Repeated absences are rarely caused by lack of motivation. Learners encounter circumstances beyond their immediate control. Most learners reside in Barangay Mabini, Changi, and Quezon, remote communities with limited transport and considerably travel distance to school. Several students wake up early as 2 a.m. and spend nearly 2 hours walking, arriving exhausted before formal instructions begin. Many learners skip breakfast due to financial constraint or attend classes without food for lunch, reducing attentiveness, participation, and physical stamina. Many learners some students undertake part-time or informal work to supplement household income, contributing to fatigue, absenteeism, and declining academic performance. Previous informal assistance, food sharing, limited financial support offered temporary relief but did not address structural causes, necessitating a systematic evidence-based intervention. Next is the research gap and rationale. Limited localized evidence exists on combined absenteeism, determinants for senior high school learners in isolated rural communities. The research gap existing national studies provide broad trends but fail to capture life experiences of learners facing multiple overlapping barriers within a specific school context. Nutrition, poverty, parental involvement, and a school feeding program are individually documented, but no localized study examines the simultaneous effect of absenteeism among senior high school learners in geographically isolated communities. Few teachers led action research initiatives have comprehensively examined the combined effects of travel distance, nutritional status, family support, and economic pressures while evaluating a targeted supplementary feeding intervention. The rationale of these is anchored in school-based action research. This study investigates the nutrition practices, support of economic responsibilities of absenteeism, adopts a learner-centered perspectives of absenteeism as a symptoms of economic challenge, not a disciplinary concern. Transform classroom observations into actionable, evidence-based, and strengthen school programs, guide policy, and improve learners' welfare.
Next is the statement of the problem. General problem and specific questions. This study determines factors contributing to absenteeism and evaluate the effectiveness of a supplementary feeding intervention. The general problem is this study aims to determine the factors contributing to student absenteeism among grade 12 Garnet learners and evaluate the effectiveness of a supplementary feeding intervention in improving attendance, classroom participation, and academic performance during the school year 2025 to 2026. Specifically, the study seeks to answer the following questions. These are the specific questions. Okay. Sequence 1 or specific question 1, we have what is the absenteeism profile of grade 12 Garnet students in terms of frequency of absences, duration of absences, timing of absences, morning or afternoon. Second specific question is there a significant relationship between travel distance, travel time, physical fatigue, and student absenteeism? And the specific question 3 is there a significant relationship between students' nutritional practices and absenteeism? Like, do they have breakfast in the morning before going to school? Do they have lunch availability? Or are they hungry during classes? Okay, under the statement of the problem, we also have specific research questions. This study also examines the parental support, economic responsibilities, general weighted average, and the post-intervention outcomes. For the question 4, okay, here is the question 4. Is there a significant relationship between parental guidance and material support and student absenteeism? Specific question 5. Is there a significant relationship between students' economic responsibilities and absenteeism? Specific question 6. Is there a significant relationship between absenteeism and students' general weighted average? And specific question 7, is there a significant difference in the students' attendance, classroom participation, and academic performance before and after the implementation of the supplementary feeding intervention? Next chapter is the research objectives, general and specific objectives. The study describes, determines, examines, and assesses multiple dimensions of absenteeism. The general objective, to determine the factors contributing to students' absenteeism among grade 12 Garnet learners and evaluate the effectiveness of a supplementary feeding intervention in improving school attendance, classroom participation, and academic performance during school year 2025 and 2026. Okay, we have here the specific objectives. We have 4. The first one, and let me get my highlighter. Okay, specific objectives 1 is to describe the absenteeism profile of grade 12 Garnet students. Like, for example, the frequency of absences, the duration of absences, and the timing of absences. Okay, next we have the specific objective 2, which is to determine the relationship to determine the relationship between the student's travel condition and their absenteeism. It covers the travel distance, the travel time, and the physical fatigue. Specific objective number 3 is to examine the relationship between the students' nutritional practices and their absenteeism, which includes the breakfast consumption, lunch availability, and hunger during classes. And we have the specific objective number 4 is to assess the relationship between the parental guidance and material support and student absenteeism. Okay, we have the research objective. This is also the continuation. We have the 5 to 8. Number 5 specific objective is the economic factors. Determine the relationship between students' economic responsibilities and their absenteeism. Specific objective number 6 is their academic performance. Examine the relationship between absenteeism and students' academic performance as measured by their general weighted average. And then the specific objective number 7 is the intervention effectiveness. Evaluate the effectiveness of supplementary feeding intervention by comparing students' attendance, classroom participation, and academic performance before and after implementation. And number 8, specific objective, we have the evidence-based recommendations. Develop evidence-based recommendations for school administrators, teachers, parents, and other stakeholders to strengthen school-based intervention aimed at reducing absenteeism and improving learners' outcome. Next, we have the research hypothesis. 6 null hypotheses and their corresponding alternative hypothesis guide the study's statistical testing. Okay, we have here the null hypothesis 1. There is no significant relationship between travel conditions and student absenteeism. Null hypothesis 2. There is no significant relationship between students' nutritional practices and absenteeism. Null hypothesis number 3. There is no significant relationship between parental guidance and absenteeism. And null hypothesis number 4, there is no significant relationship between students' economic responsibilities and absenteeism. Null hypothesis number 6, there is no significant relationship between absenteeism and students' general weighted average. And null hypothesis 6, there is no significant difference in attendance, classroom participation, and academic performance before and after the implementation of the supplementary feeding intervention. Then in this side, we will have the alternative hypothesis. Okay, the corresponding alternative hypothesis assert that significant relationships exist between travel condition, nutrition, parental guidance, and economic responsibilities and absenteeism. Then next, we have a significant relationship exists between the absenteeism and the student's weighted average, general weighted average. Then the last one, the last alternative hypothesis, we have the significant improvements in attendance, participation, and academic performance occur after the supplementary feeding intervention. All hypotheses will be tested at 0.05 significance level using appropriate inferential statistical methods. Okay, and we have the significance of the study. This study is expected to benefit 7 key stakeholder groups in education. First one, we have here the students. May lead to interventions that reduce attendance barriers, improve nutritional well-being, strengthens classroom engagement, and enhance academic performance. Second is the parents and guardians. May increase awareness of the roles that nutrition, parental support, and consistent attendance may play in learner success, encouraging stronger family involvement. And the third one is the teachers and class advisors. May serve a practical reference for identifying at-risk learners early, and implementing evidence-based classroom interventions tailored to local needs. Next is the school administrators. Will provide empirical evidence to support enhancement of learner support programs, improve attendance monitoring, and guide school-based decision making. Next, of course, we have that the Department of Education may contribute localized evidence to inform policies and strengthen school-based programs addressing absenteeism, nutrition, and learner welfare in geographically isolated communities. Then we have the local government units, our LGUs, and the community partners may encourage collaborative initiatives that address transportation, nutrition, and economic barriers affecting school participations. And of course, the future researchers may serve as a valuable reference for future investigations on absenteeism, nutrition, educational equity, and evidence-based intervention in rural educational settings.
Scope and delimitation. This study covers all grade 12 Garnet students in Barangay Mabini, Churangay, and Quezon, limited to one section and specified variables. Scope of participants and variables. This study focuses on all officially enrolled grade 12 Garnet students residing in Barangay Mabini, Churangay, and Quezon during the school year 2025-2026. It examines the relationship among travel condition, nutritional practices, parental support, economic responsibilities, and student absenteeism. The intervention and measurement. The intervention consists of a structured supplementary feeding program implemented over a specified period with attendance, classroom participation, and academic performance measured before and after the implementation. The limitations. The study is limited to one senior high school section and does not attempt to generalize finding to all public school. It includes absenteeism primarily caused by diagnosed medical condition, long-term hospitalization, and natural disasters, school closures, or other extraordinary events beyond student and school control. Variables such as peer influence, mental conditions, and teacher-related instructional practices are also beyond the scope of this investigation. Next, we have the operational definition of terms. Key terms define the academic performance to economic responsibilities. Terms are operationally defined as used in this study for clarity and consistency. We have the academic performance. It refers to the learner's level of scholastic achievement as measured by the general weighted average or GWA obtained from official school records before and after the implementation of the supplementary feeding intervention. Next, we have attendance. It refers to the learner's regular presence in school during scheduled class days. It is measured using the official class attendance record maintained by the class advisors. Next, we have classroom participation. Refers to the extent to which learners actively engage in classroom activities, discussion, group work, and other instructional tasks. It is measured using the teacher classroom observation record before and after the intervention. Economic responsibilities. It refers to the financial obligation or income generating activities performed by learners to support themselves or their families. This may include part-time work, household labor, or other activities affecting ability to attend school regularly. Next is family support. Refers to the assistance provided by parents or guardian that contributes to learner educational participation, including parental encouragement, supervision of school attendance, provision of school needs, and emotional support. General weighted average or GWA refers to the overall academic average of each learner for the grading period covered by the study as reflected in the official school records. Next, we have hunger during class. The physical sensation of hunger experienced by a learner while attending classes due to insufficient food intake before or during the school days, measured through students' responses in the researcher-developed questionnaires. Next, we have nutritional practices. The learner's eating behavior that may influence school attendance and learning. This include regular breakfast consumption, availability of lunch, meal frequency, and overall food intake before attending school. Next, we have parental guidance. The degree of supervision, monitoring, motivation, and encouragement provided by parents or guardians regarding the learner's education, attendance, and academic responsibilities. Physical fatigue. The level of tiredness or exhaustion experienced by learners as a result of walking long distances, traveling for extended periods, performing household chores, or engaging in income-generating activities before attending schools. School attendance. The learner's consistent participation in scheduled school days during the implementation of the study, measured by the number of days the learner is officially recorded as present. Student absenteeism. The repeated or frequent absence of learner from the scheduled classes during the student period measured using official class attendance records and analyzed based on the frequency, duration, and timing of absences. The conceptual framework. Master hierarchy of needs explains how and meet physiological needs impede learning and attendance. The theoretical basis. According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory 1943, it emphasizes that individuals must first satisfy their basic physiological needs, including food, water, rest, and physical well-being, before they can effectively pursue a higher level of cognitive and academic goals. When essential needs remain unmet, individuals experience difficulty concentrating, maintaining motivation, and achieving optimal performance. The application of the educational setting. Learners who experience hunger, fatigue, or inadequate nutrition are more likely to demonstrate decreased classroom participation, poor academic performance, and irregular school attendance. The inability to meet fundamental needs may result in diminished learning capacity despite the availability of educational opportunities. The implication for this study: providing adequate nutritional support to a school-based intervention can help remove barriers to learning and encourage consistent school participation among the grade 12 Garnet learners. Conceptual framework and theoretical foundation. Bronfenbrenner ecological system theory and the DepEd S-bar principle jointly framed this study design. Bronfenbrenner ecological system theory 1979. According to this theory, a learner's development is influenced by multiple interacting environmental systems. A student's absenteeism is shaped by family support, socio-economic condition, transportation accessibility, community resources, and school-based interventions, not solely individual behavior. These interconnected factors collectively influence learners' ability to attend school and engage meaningful in instruction. School-based action research or SBAR. SBAR encourages teachers to identify school-related problems, implement context-specific intervention, and evaluate their effectiveness using systematic research. Rather than merely describing absenteeism, this study implements an evidence-based supplementary feeding intervention and assesses its effectiveness in improving learners' attendance, participation, and academic performance. Together, this theoretical perspective provides a comprehensive explanation on how nutritional support, family environment, socio-economic circumstances, and school-based intervention collectively influence students' attendance and educational outcomes.
Once again, good morning. Let's go to the research paradigm, IPO framework, the input. The input component captures learner profiles, absenteeism, absenteeism factors, and baseline indicators. So here in input, the learner profile, we have here the independent. Under independent, we have the demographic variables, the age, the sex, and the residence. So this is descriptive characteristics of grade 12 Garnet participants enrolled during school year 2025 to 2026. And for the factors that affect the student absenteeism, we have here the travel and physical condition, nutritional practices, family and economic factors. Under the travel and physical conditions, we have here the travel distance, the travel time, and the physical fatigue. While in the nutritional practices, we have here the breakfast consumption, lunch availability, and hunger during class. In family and economic factors, the students' economic responsibilities, parental guidance, material support from parents. And the baseline indicators, the pre-measure here is the attendance records, classroom participation, general weighted average. So the study adapts the input process outcome framework to illustrate the systematic flow of this research process. Next is the process-based systematic research procedures. The process phase details the systematic procedures from approval to formulation of recommendations. We have here five, 1 to 10. Yeah. The first is the securing approval from school authorities. Second is orientation of participants and parents. The third is the distribution and administration of validated research instrument. And the fourth is the collection of baseline attendance and academic records. The fifth is the analysis of factors associated with absenteeism. And number six, implementation of the supplementary feeding intervention, followed by number seven, the continuous monitoring of attendance and participation. Next, number eight is the post-intervention data collection. And number nine is the statistical analysis and interpretation of findings. And the last, number 10, is the formulation of recommendations. And in output and outcome, the study expects immediate improved outputs and long-term outcomes, including reduced absenteeism and stronger school-community partnership. The output, immediate expected results, the identification of the major factors contributing to absenteeism. Next, the improved students' attendance and also increase classroom participation and also improve academic performance, evidence-based recommendations for school administrators and teachers, and of course, a sustainable supplementary feeding intervention model that is for immediate expected results and for long-term impact output. We have here six. First is the reduced absenteeism among grade 12 learners, improve learners' engagement, enhance academic achievement, increase retention of at-risk learners, strengthen school community partnership, improve implementation of learner support program. And for the narrative explanation of the IPOO framework, this framework guides understanding of how absenteeism determinants relate to the supplementary feeding intervention. We have here the input, the process, the output, and the outcome. For the input, we have here the demographics, travel, nutrition, family, baseline records. For process, the approval, data collection, intervention, monitoring, and analysis. And for the output, we have here the improve attendance, participation, academic performance, and recommendations. And for the outcome is the sustained participation, learner welfare, policy improvement. The framework overview. This IPOO framework serves as the conceptual guide for understanding the relationship between the identified determinants of absenteeism and the implementation of supplementary feeding intervention. When we say our input, this is consists of the learner's demographic characteristics, travel condition, nutritional practices, parental support, economic responsibilities, attendance record, and academic performance, providing baseline information on factors that potentially influence student absenteeism. And if, when we say process, this involves systematic research activities. What are those? These are the securing approvals, collecting baseline data, administering instruments, implementing the supplementary feeding intervention, monitoring learners' participation, and analyzing data to evaluate whether interventions effectively addresses absenteeism. When we see output and outcome, these are the improved attendance, enhanced participation, better academic performance, and evidence-based recommendations. The outcome reflects the broader long-term impact, sustained learner participation, improved educational outcome, and responsive learner welfare program within the school and wider community. And then, for the review of related literature, this is the part one, student absenteeism. Absenteeism is a multi-dimensional global challenge rooted in a socio-economic and environmental condition. So we have here the global context, multi-dimensional nature, and Philippine context. When we see global context, the students' absenteeism remains one of the most persistent challenges confronting educational systems worldwide. Regular school attendance is widely recognized as a prerequisite of academic success, social development, and lifelong learning. When learners are frequently absent, they miss essential classroom instructions, collaborate learning experiences, and opportunities to develop critical thinking and interpersonal skills. Consequently, chronic absenteeism has been associated with poor academic and achievement, increased risk of grade repetition, behavioral concern, and eventually school dropout. So here in multidimensional nature, the research consistently indicate that absenteeism is a multidimensional phenomenon influenced by personal, familial, school-related, and community factors. Rather than that, viewing absenteeism solely as a disciplinary concern, contemporary educational research emphasizes that it often reflects broader socio-economic and environmental conditions affecting learners' ability to attend school regularly. Conditions and limited parental supervision, including poverty, inadequate nutrition, transportation difficulties, and family responsibilities. When we say Philippine context, is in the here in the Philippines educational context, absenteeism remains a significant concern, particularly among learners residing in geographically isolated and disadvantaged communities. Students living in a remote barangay frequently encounter long travel distances, limited transportation services, financial constraints, and food security, all of which reduce regular school attendance and disproportionately affect learners from economically disadvantaged households. That is for part one. And for the part two of review of related literature, we have the student advantageism. So this is the part two. Transportation, family support, and academic consequences underscore the need of comprehensive intervention. The transportation and financial barriers, role of family, academic consequences, and need for comprehensive intervention. When we say transportation and financial barriers, here the students who walk long distances often arrive exhausted, reducing attendance and classroom participation. Learners lacking financial resources may prioritize household responsibilities over school attendance. And when you say the role of family support, the learners receiving consistent parental encouragement, supervision, and provision of educational needs demonstrate a stronger commitment to school attendance than those with limited parental involvement. And for the academic consequences, the frequent absences reduce instructional time, limit collaborative learning, and negatively influence motivation and achievement. Chronic absenteeism leads to declining grades and increased school disengagement. And the last is need of comprehensive intervention. What's the meaning of this? So in schools, the school must move beyond palliative attendance policies and adopt comprehensive learner support systems addressing nutritional, socioeconomic, environmental, and family-related factors, aligning with the objectives of the present study.
This moment, we will go to the review of related literature. Nutrition and Academic Performance, Part 1. Adequate nutrition sustains energy, concentration, and academic success. Food insecurity impairs all three. Adequate nutrition here enables optimal energy levels, sustained concentration, and active participation in classroom activities. Conversely, food insecurity is consistently linked to diminished cognitive functioning, poor memory, and reduced attention span. Breakfast consumption is particularly important. Learners who eat before school demonstrate higher concentration, stronger problem-solving skills, and better academic performance versus those who skip breakfast. Food insecurity among low-income households limit adequate meal provision, causing learners to attend school hungry, impairing attention, memory, and critical and contributing to irregular attendance. Nutritional intervention improve attendance and outcomes, especially for isolated communities with compounding barriers. Adequate nutrition and attendance. Learners with sufficient nutritional support are healthier, more energetic, and available to participate consistently. Improved nutritional status contributes to increased attendance, enhanced participation, and better academic outcomes. Compounding barriers in isolated communities. In geographically isolated communities, nutritional challenges are compounded by poverty, transportation difficulties, and limited food access. Long travel increases physical energy requirements. Without adequate food, learners become more susceptible to fatigue and disengagement. Study focus. Nutrition as determinant. This research examines learners' breakfast consumption, lunch availability, and hunger during class to determine how nutritional practices influence attendance and performance. A structured supplementary feeding intervention is implemented to evaluate its impact in attendance, participation, and academic achievement. For school-based feeding programs, school feeding programs are among the most effective intervention of improving learners' health, attendance, and participation. Global recognition. School feeding programs improve learner health, school participation, and academic outcomes, addressing short-term hunger while reducing dropout rates. And for DepEd's SBFP, or the school-based feeding program targets nutritionally at-risk public school learners, studies report improvement in attendance, participation, and classroom engagement along nutritional gains. International evidence. Globally, school feeding initiatives contribute to increased enrollment, improve attendance, enhance concentration, and better learning outcomes, especially for economic disadvantaged households. Incentive for parents. In many developing countries, school meals serve as an incentive that encourages families to keep children in school despite economic hardship. School-based feeding programs, this is the part two. Existing programs neglect senior high school learners. This study fills that gap with a localized intervention. Gap, senior high school, overlooked. Existing feeding programs prioritize younger learners in elementary grades. Adolescents also face nutritional deficiencies, food insecurity, and economic responsibilities. Yet, comparative fewer interventions address their school participation needs. We have also the gap, narrow evaluation focus. Many programs are evaluated primarily on nutritional status improvements. Few comprehensively examine effects on classroom participation, learner engagement, and academic performance among senior high school learners in geographically isolated communities. Recent study, localized intervention. This study extends existing literature through a supplementary feeding intervention designed specifically for grade 12 learners facing absenteeism. Systematic pre and post implementation monitoring generates evidence on effectiveness as a practical, sustainable, school based strategy. And also under review of related literature, accessibility and travel distance. Long travel distance and poor transportation infrastructure significantly reduce school attendance and classroom readiness. Geographic barriers. Accessibility to school significant influence consistent attendance. Geographical barriers hinder regular participation in rural and isolated communities. Learners who reside far from school are more likely to experience absenteeism than those within accessible distance. Extended travel causes physical fatigue, tardiness, and occasional absences. Transportation challenges worsen in rural communities with limited to no public transport. Students walk regardless of weather, road condition, or terrain. And the impact on learning and this study. Physical fatigue from long distance travel is associated with decreased classroom engagement, lower concentration, reduced participation, and poorer academic performance. Grade 12 learners in Barangay Mabini, Barangay Trangue, and Barangay Quezon spend several hours traveling daily. Travel distance, travel time, and physical fatigue are therefore examined as key absenteeism determinants. Family support and parental involvement. Active parental involvement is one of the strongest predictors of regular attendance and academic persistence. Family support is one of the strongest predictors of educational success. Parents foster positive attitudes toward learning through encouragement, monitoring, and provision of basic needs. Learners with active parental supervision show better attendance, stronger academic performance, and greater motivation compared to those with limited family involvement. Insufficient parental involvement. Due to economic hardship, family stability, or limited educational backgrounds, increases vulnerability to absenteeism. When families cannot provide transportation expenses, school supplies, meals, or emotional encouragement, learners experience increased absenteeism and declining performance. This study examines parental guidance and material support as key variables to determine how family support contributes to regular school attendance among grade 12 learners. Socioeconomic factors affecting attendance. Poverty affects nutrition, transportation, and study time, creating people pathways to absenteeism. First, we have the poverty as determinant. Socioeconomic status shapes access to nutritious foods, transportation, healthcare, and supportive learning environments, placing economically disadvantaged learners to higher absenteeism risk. Economic responsibilities. Financial hardship requires some learners to take on part-time employment or informal labor, reducing study time, increasing physical fatigue, and leading to missed school days. Food insecurity. Family with limited resources may fail to provide sufficient meals before or during school. Hunger diminishes concentration, reduces classroom participation, and worsens absenteeism, especially among adolescents with high nutritional demands. Transportation barriers. Inability to afford daily transportation costs forces students to walk long distances when costs become unfor- unaffordable. Classes are missed entirely, demonstrating how poverty creates overlapping educational barriers. Study focus. This study examined learners' economic responsibilities alongside other socioeconomic indicators to understand how financial circumstances contribute to absenteeism among grade 12 learners. This slide is still under the review of related literature. School-based action research. DepEd school-based action research empowers teachers to generate localized, evidence-based solutions. School-based action research is an important DepEd strategy for solving practical school problems through systematic investigation and evidence-based interventions with teachers as practitioner researchers. DepEd encourages teachers to develop localized interventions responsive to the unique needs of their learners and communities, strengthening school policies and learner outcomes. Action research follow a cyclical process: planning, implementation, observation, reflection, and improvement, enabling sustainable improvements rather than one-time solution. The present study adopts school-based action research principles by identifying students' absenteeism as pressing concern, implementing a supplementary feeding intervention, and systematically evaluating its effectiveness. This study aims not only to understand the factors contributing to absenteeism, but also to generate practical recommendations that may strengthen learner support initiatives within the school and inform similar intervention in comparable educational settings.
Synthesis of the literature. The literature confirms absenteeism is a multifaceted. This study integrates all determinants into a single framework with a localized intervention. Multifaceted determinants. Inadequate nutrition, food insecurity, long travel distances, limited parental support, and financial hardship negatively affect attendance, engagement, and academic performance. And these factors interact, not operate independently. Feeding programs, evidence, and gaps. School feeding programs improve nutritional status, attendance, and participation. However, most existing studies focus on elementary learners or large-scale government initiatives, not senior high school students in isolated communities. Fragmented prior research. Previous studies have examined transportation barriers, parental involvement, or socioeconomic status separately. Few have explored how these factors collectively influence absenteeism within a single setting while evaluating a localized teacher-led intervention. This study builds on existing findings by integrating multiple determinants into one framework and evaluating a structured supplementary feeding program or intervention among grade 12 learners, generating localized empirical evidence to strengthen learner support program. Next, we have the review of related literature matrix studies 1 to 8. In this table, you will see the authors and year, the research title, the purpose of the study, the design method, major finding, research gap, and relevance to present study. The first one is we have UNESCO 2023. The research title is about Global Education Monitoring Report. The purpose is to examine barriers affecting learners' participation in education worldwide. Their major finding is poverty, hunger, and accessibility continue to affect school attendance. We have also UNICEF 2023. The research title is The State of the World's Children. The purpose of their study is to assess children's health, nutrition, and education globally. Next, we have DepEd 2024. The research title is School-Based Feeding Program Guidelines. The purpose is to provide implementation guidelines for SBFP. Next, we have World Food Program 2022. The research title is State of School Feeding Worldwide. The purpose of the study is to evaluate school feeding program across countries. Next, we have Journal of School Health 2022. The research title is Breakfast Consumption and Academic Performance. Their purpose is to investigate the relationship between breakfast intake and the academic achievement. The PIDS 2023, their research title is all about educational inequality in the Philippines, and their purpose is to investigate educational disparities. Next, we have UNICEF Philippines 2022. The research title is Child Well-Being in the Philippines, and their purpose is to examine children welfare. We have also the Journal of Educational Research 2023 with the research title Parental Involvement and School Attendance. The purpose of their study is to investigate into investigated parental involvement. Next, we have the studies 9 to 16 address family support, learner engagement, employment, fatigue, academic performance, and adolescent nutrition. We have Asia Pacific Education Review 2022. The research title is Family Support and Learner Engagement. Next, we have International Journal of Educational Development 2023. The research title is Student Engagement in Rural School. The purpose is to investigate learners' participation. Next, we have Journal of Adolescents 2022. The research title is Student Employment and School Attendance. The purpose of their study is to examine adolescents' work responsibilities. Next, we have DepEd Action Research Portal 2023. Their title is Teacher Lead Action Research Project. Their purpose is to review action research initiatives. Frontiers in Psychology. Their title is Fatigue and Academic Engagement. The purpose of their study is to examine physical fatigue among adolescents. Next, we have Journal of School Psychology 2022. The research title is Attendance and Academic Achievements. Their purpose is, of course, to investigate attendance and performance. Next, we have International Journal of Educational Research 2023. As you can see of their title, the research title is about school attendance intervention, and their purpose is to evaluate attendance intervention. Then the last one is we have the WHO 2023. The research title is about adolescents' nutrition, and their purpose is to examine adolescents' nutritional needs. Review of related literature matrix or RL matrix, summary of the themes covered. So here are the summary. The variables, student absenteeism, number of supporting studies, we have 5. Nutrition, we have 6. School feeding program, we have 4. Accessibility and travel distance, we have 3. Family support, we have 2. Socioeconomic factors, 3. School-based action research, 1. And academic performance, 3. So in this study, you will see that the most numbers of support, the most number is on nutrition, which is 6. Research and methodology. Research design. This study uses quantitative action research approach, combining descriptive, correlational, and one group pretest post-test design. The quantitative action research was descriptive correlation design plus one group pretest post-test design. Descriptive component determined the absenteeism profile of grade 12 Garnet learners, especially the frequent duration and timing of absences across the school year. The correlation component, we have examine relationship among travel condition, nutritional practices, parental support, economic responsibilities, absenteeism, and academic performance. In pretest post-test component, we have evaluates the supplementary feeding intervention by comparing learners' attendance, classroom participation, and academic performance before and after the implementation. The design rationale, this combined design enabled the researcher to describe existing learning condition, determine significant relationship among variables, and assess whether the intervention contributes to measurable improvement, consistent with the school-based action research or SBAR principles.
Morning once again. Now let's go to the research locale and participants. This study is conducted at Francisco B. Rosales Senior National High School using total enumeration of all grade 12 Garnet students. The research locale and the research participants. First, we go to the research locale. The study will be conducted at Francisco B. Rosales Senior National High School, where the researchers currently serves as a teacher. The participants of the communities are the Barangay Mabini, Barangay Trangi, and Barangay Quezon. These communities are characterized by considerable travel distances, limited transportation services, and socio-economic challenges. Many students walk long distances daily to reach school, while often others experience financial constraints affecting nutrition and transportation. The rationale for site selection is the school has documented cases of absenteeism among grade 12 learners, making it an appropriate setting for investigating factors contributing to absenteeism and evaluating the effectiveness of supplementary feeding intervention. And that is for research like health, and we go to the research participants. Our target population, all officially enrolled grade 12 Garnet students during the school year 2025-2026. And the sampling technique is it has a total enumeration sampling. A total enumeration approach will be employed because of learners in a section will be divided in a study, and this technique is appropriate due to first, the manageable class size of a section, and second, the action research objective of improving outcome within a specific classroom context. And third, the need of to include all learners for comprehensive baseline and post-intervention comparison. Now we go to inclusion and exclusion criteria. In inclusion criteria, participants participants must be officially enrolled in grade 12 Garnet during the conduct of the study. And second, regularly attend classes at Francisco B. Rosales Senior National High School. Third, provide assent or consent as required, with parental consent obtained when applicable. And the fourth, be willing to participate voluntarily in the study. That is for inclusion criteria. And for exclusion criteria, this will be included the learners who transfer to one school during this study period. Second, learners who officially withdraw from the study. And the third, learners whose absences are primarily due to prolonged hospitalization or documented medical conditions unrelated to the factors investigated. And the last is learners whose parents or guardians decline participation in the study. Now let's move on to the research variables. The research variable has an independent variable, dependent variables, and intervention variable. Independent variables, we have here nine. Nine. To mention of nine, we have first travel distance, travel time, physical fatigue, breakfast consumption, lunch availability, hunger during class, parental guidance, material support from parents, economic responsibilities. That is nine. And for the dependent variables, we have three identified. First, student absenteeism. Second, classroom participation. Third, academic performance. That is their general weighted average. And for intervention variable, we have only one. Structured supplementary feeding program. Structured supplementary feeding program. This implemented to evaluate the effect of attendance, classroom participation, and academic performance before and after application. So let's move on to the research instruments. The research instruments has four: questionnaire, attendance form, observation checklist, and academic records. Instrument 1 is the student questionnaire. Researcher develop, gathers information regarding 1. Travel distance and travel time. 2. Breakfast consumption and lunch availability. 3. Hunger during class. 4. Parental guidance and financial support. 5. 5.8 and scale factual questions. For instrument 2, we have the attendance monitoring form. So, official class attendance records maintained by the class advisor, and it determines first, the frequency of absences, second, the duration of absences, and third, the attendance before and after the intervention. And for the third instrument, we have classroom participation and observation checklist. In this instrument, the structured checklist monitors learner participation during the intervention indicators, and the indicators include first, the class participation and recitation, second, the group activities, third, the attentive and task completion. And for the instrument 4, the academic performance record. So the learner's general weighted average, or the GWA, obtained from official school records with a school administration approval in accordance with data privacy requirements, measured pre and post intervention. Okay. Now, we go to the research methodology, the validation, reliability, and data gathering procedure. And validation and reliability, there's here the content validation by a panel of experienced teachers and research advisories. And then the pilot tested with learners possessing characteristics similar to target respondents, and that is not study participants. Then necessary revision made to improve clarity, organizations, and relevance. And the last, the internal consistency assessed using Conbrax alpha were appropriate before final administration. Okay, and then the data gathering procedure has four phases. One is the preparation, two is the baseline data collection, three, the intervention implementation, and four, post-intervention assessment. We go to the preparation, the first phase. In here, secure approval from the school head and research authorities, and then obtain informed consent from participants and parents, guardians, and then validate and pilot test research instrument. And for the second phase, the baseline data collection, it administers the students' questionnaire, collect attendance records and academic performance data, and then observe and document classroom participation. And for the third phase, the intervention implementation, this it implements the structured supplementary feeding program per approved schedule. Monitor learners' attendance throughout the intervention period and monitor classroom participation throughout the intervention period. And then the last phase is post-intervention assessment. And here it collects post-intervention attendance records, conduct classroom observations, and obtain updated academic performance records. Also organize and prepare data for statistical analysis.
Research methodology, statistical treatment of data. 7 research objectives are matched to appropriate descriptive and inferential statistic tools. The collected data will be analyzed using appropriate descriptive and inferential statistics techniques. Okay, we have here, this side will be the research objectives and the appropriate statistical tools by in this side. Okay, first we have describe absenteeism profile. Statistical tool, we have the frequency, percentage, mean, standard deviation. Relationship between travel conditions and absenteeism, we will use the person's product moment correlation or per month's rank correlation depending on data distribution. Relationship between nutritional practices and absenteeism, we have the persons or sparsman correlation. Okay, same with relationship between parental support and absenteeism, relationship between economic responsibility and absenteeism, and relationship between absenteeism and academic performance. All of it, we will use the person's correlation. And here is the person's or sparsman correlations. And for comparing attendance participation in academic performance before and after intervention, we will use the paired t-test or Wilcoxon signed rank test depending on normality of the data. A significance level of 0.05 will be used in testing the hypothesis. For ethical considerations, the study adheres to deep ethical standards ensuring voluntary participation, informed consent, confidentiality, and participant well-being. authorization and consent, approval secured from school head and appropriate research authorities prior to data collection, informed consent obtained from all participants, parental or guardian consent secured where applicable. Participation is strictly voluntary. Participants may withdraw at any time without penalty. Participants are fully informed of the study's purpose, procedures, and potential benefits. Next, we have the privacy and confidentiality. All collected information is treated with strict confidentiality in compliance with data privacy requirements. Codes or pseudonyms replace learners' actual names in all records, reports, and publications. Data stored securely and accessed solely by the researcher for purposes of this study. Academic records obtained with school administration approval in accordance with data privacy policy. And again, we have the participant well-being. Research activities scheduled to avoid disruption of regular classroom instruction. Intervention implemented with due regard for learners' health, safety, and overall well-being. Participants retain the right to decline or discontinue participation at any time without consequence. Study follows ethical standards prescribed by the Department of Education and applicable research ethics guidelines. And we have here the work plan or the Gantt chart. 11 research activities are scheduled across 6 months from August to January. By here, we have all the 11 research activities that will be scheduled within the 6 months starting August to January. First, we have the proposal writing. It will be on August, validation instrument also on August and September. And for the approval of research proposal, pilot testing of instruments, collection of baseline data will be on September. And for the collection of baseline data, it will be in September and October. Implementation of supplementary feeding will be on October and November. Classroom observation and attendance monitoring will be on October and November. Post-intervention data collection will be on November. Statistical analysis will be on December. Writing final research report will be on December and January. Presentation and dissemination of the study will be on January. Okay, now we will go to the proposed budget. The total estimated budget of this study is 15,900 pesos to be primarily funded by the researcher with possible stakeholder assistance. The proposed budget estimates the expenses necessary to conduct the study. The researcher will primarily utilize personal funds with possible assistance from the school or stakeholders should additional support become available. Okay, this side we have here the item, quantity, and estimated cost. For printing of questionnaires, we have the quantity of 80 copies. It will be 400 pesos. Photocopying and documentation will be 500 pesos. Bond paper, 2 reams, will be 700 pesos. Ball pens and office supplies, 500 pesos. Folder and envelopes, 300 pesos. Internet and communication, 1,000 pesos. Transportation will be 1,500 pesos. And we have also the supplementary feeding. The food ingredients and snacks, we have 8,000 pesos. This will be the highest part of the budget. Monitoring materials will be 500 pesos. Printing of final manuscript, 5 copies, 1,500 pesos. Miscellaneous expenses will be 1,000 pesos with a total estimated budget of 15,900 pesos. Okay, funding sources will be researchers' personal funds, School support if available, stakeholder assistance as applicable. This budget is only an estimate and may be adjusted based on actual costs and available resources. Monitoring and evaluation plan to ensure the successful implementation of the supplementary feeding intervention. Continuous monitoring and evaluation will be conducted throughout the study period. In this side, we have the objective, indicator, data source, frequency, and person responsible for monitoring attendance, okay, attendance rate, class attendance record, and it should be daily, and of course the researchers all of this objective, the responsible will be the researcher. Monitoring participation, we have the classroom participation checklist, observation form, and it will be done weekly. Okay, monitor intervention, number of meals served, feeding logbook, and it should be monitored daily. Monitoring academic performance, indicator will be the general weighted average. Data source will be the official school records, and the frequency will be the end of grading period. The result will be compared with baseline data to determine the effectiveness of the intervention.
Our dissemination plan, of course, sharing research finding with stakeholders. Upon completion of the study, findings will be disseminated to various stakeholders to encourage the utilization of results and improving learners' attendance and school support programs. Activity number 1, presentation during the School Learning Action Cell or LAC session. Number 2, presentation to the School Research Committee. Number 3, submission of the final report to the school head. Number 4, presentation during district or division research conferences when applicable. Number 5, submission to the school division office research office. Number 6, sharing the findings with the parent through the Parent Teacher Association or PTE if appropriate. The number 7, publication in the school research repository or journal subject to approval. Our research plan or sustainability plan is integrating the supplementary feeding activity into the school annual improvement plan or AIP. Second, seeking financial assistance from the local government unit or LGU and the other community partners. Next, encouraging alumni organizations and private donors to sponsor feeding activities. Next, conducting periodic nutritional assessment to identify learners requiring continuous assistance. Also, organizing volunteer groups composed of teachers and parents to support food preparation and distribution. Monitoring learners' attendance continuously to evaluate the long-term impact of the intervention. And lastly, expanding the intervention to other grade levels if shown to be effective. The sustainability plan seeks to ensure that the benefits of the intervention extend beyond the duration of the research and contribute to improving learner welfare educational outcomes in a long term.
The following supporting documents will be attached to the final concept paper. Okay, for appendix A, we have the letter of request to conduct the study. We have also the informed consent form, parent guardian consent form, student questionnaire, classroom participation observation checklist, attendance monitoring form, supplementary feeding monitoring log, validation form for experts, research timeline or the Gantt chart, proposed budget breakdown, and the ethics compliance documents. For our references, we used APA 7th edition. We have the Department of Education 2024 School-Based Feeding Program Guidelines by the Department of Education, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations of 2024 Latest Evidence on Impact and Implementation of School Meal Programs, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development 2023 Education at One Glance, and the Philippine Institute for Development Studies of 2023 Educational Inequality and the Philippines. We have also the UNESCO 2023 Global Education Monitoring Report 2023. And of course, UNESCO Institute for Statistics 2022, Education Data Release. And UNICEF 2023, The State of the World's Children 2023, and UNICEF Philippines 2022, Child Well-Being in the Philippines. We have also the World Food Program 2022, State of School Feeding Worldwide, World Health Organization 2023, Adolescent Nutrition. We have Cohen GFW, HAA, McLaughlin, James Turner L, and Schwartz MB 2021, Universal School Meals in association with student participation, attendance, academic performance, diet, quality, food security, and body mass index, a systematic review, nutrients. We have also the Gordanier J. Osterk, OD, Williams A., and Zan C. 2024, Universal Free School Meals and School and Student Outcomes, a systematic review also. We have the Bronfenbrenner, U. 1979, The Ecology of Human Development Experiments by Nature and Design, Harvard University Press. We have the Epstein, J. L., School Family Community Partnership, Preparing Educators and Improving Schools. We have the Maslow A.H. 1943, A Theory of Human Motivation, a psychological review. The Department of Education 2017, DIP Order number 16 series of 2017, Research Management Guidelines. And we have also Department of Education 2024, Basic Education Development Plan, BEDP 2030 Progress Report. And for the AI declaration, for the AI use declaration, this PowerPoint presentation was developed with the assistance of Microsoft Copilot, an artificial intelligence or AI tool. AI was used to support the drafting of presentation content, organize ideas, improve the clarity and flow of information, suggest slide layouts, and enhance the overall visual presentation. All AI-generated outputs were carefully reviewed, verified, revised, and edited by the presenter to ensure the accuracy, relevance, and appropriateness of the information presented. The presenter takes full responsibility for the final content, interpretations, conclusions, and any errors or omissions contained in this presentation. The use of AI serves solely as productivity and writing aid and did not replace the presenter's critical thinking, analysis, or independent judgment. All external sources, data, and references included in this presentation have been properly acknowledged in accordance with applicable academic and professional standards. And that's all for our group of presentation, our concept paper. Thank you so much, everyone.